Well, since the 1980s, the Environmental Protection Agency has been working to clean up a Superfund site in St. Charles, right next to the city's main drinking water source.
But a recent review by the EPA has shown the cleanup has not been as effective as they had hoped. 5 on your side's Laura Barcheski digs into the documents.
Mike and Kelly, the good news is the drinking water is still safe, but this recent review shows the contamination is getting closer, continuing to concern residents.
In the 1960s, the Findette Corporation, a fluid reprocessing plant, opened up in St. Charles near Elm Point Road and Governor Drive. The site got the EPA's attention in the 1970s for handling certain chemicals used as coolants and lubricants in electrical and industrial equipment. An EPA inspection found an unlined pond full of this chemical waste, contaminating the soil and groundwater. This area is what's now known as OU1, short for Operable Unit 1 of the Findette Corp Superfund site. The company also reprocessed what are called catalyst chemicals, and that spun off into a separate business next door, the Cadmus Corporation, which is represented as OU2 on this map. To clean up both areas, truckloads of waste and contaminated soil were removed, along with groundwater treatment for the Findette area. EPA Remedial Project Manager J.P. Curry says in their 6th 5-year review, they sampled both areas and the results weren't what they hoped.
They found some pretty high levels of contamination in the soils. And so that is something that we're looking to get addressed and hopefully knock those levels down.
In the report, researchers could not determine the protectiveness of the cleanup in areas 1 and 2.
So that means we just need to collect more data to come up with a protectiveness determination. So it was deferred protectiveness for ecological risk reasons, not for human health risk reasons.
OU3 is the largest of the 4, made up of contaminated groundwater that migrated off the Findette property. Water in this area is the primary source of drinking water for the city of St. Charles, extracted from the Elm Point well field. This contamination so close to the drinking water is what got St. Charles area resident Kara Elms involved.
I think definitely when people use their voice and say, hey, we're here, you are going to affect change. I think previously the people of St. Charles had not been involved, so they largely had ignored us.
The EPA report shows the plume in OU3 is getting even closer to the wells and was listed as short-term protective.
Yeah, this basically means we're seeing higher levels of contamination than we thought we would 20 years ago still. And so what that means for overall is that the additional work needs to be done in order to get a quicker remedial time frame and bring those cleanup goals and to achieve those cleanup goals quicker than what's currently happening at the site.
That leads us to the latest point of contention, OU4. That's the Ameren-Huster substation, also located next to several of the city's wells in the Elm Point well field. In 2012, the EPA said the substation was separately contributing to contamination in the area, and they entered into an agreement to clean it up. In October of 2022, the city of St. Charles claimed chemicals from the substation were still getting into the wells. Ameren denied it, pointing to their cleanup. But in February of 2023, the EPA once again said Ameren was responsible and required them to do more.
They have completed all of the sampling that we asked them to do as part of the nature and extent of looking at the contaminations. They have done some interim measures out there with injections to try to protect the well field.
Ameren says they do have a plan for continued cleanup, which they hope to start in spring 2026 and would take about 3 years. The city is using Elm Point wells again after installing a special treatment system, but they still have to buy water from St. Louis, and there are still some concerns.
The groundwater in the area, it's like, what if the city stops taking those measures? Could the wells become contaminated? What if EPA stops doing what it's doing? You never know. I guess the number one goal is to keep it safe, but there needs to be a lot more action from EPA and Ameren to ensure that.
There is a public meeting this Thursday from 7 to 9 at the St. Charles Police Department with the EPA to go over this very report. They also want feedback and want to answer your questions. We'll have the full report on KSTK.com.